Fear is the silent architect of the life you never wanted. It builds invisible walls, locks doors you were meant to walk through, and whispers lies so slowly, so softly, that you eventually mistake them for truth. Fear is patient. It doesn't need to strike loudly. It simply needs you to hesitate once, and then again, until one day you look around and realize that your entire life is made of choices you didn't choose. Fear chose them for you. Day 2 is not about becoming brave or night. It's about shining a blinding light on the fear that has been hiding in your shadows, shaping your reactions, controlling your confidence, and scripting your story without your permission. Today is the day you stare it in the face and say, not one more day. A fear grows in the dark. It survives when you avoid it. It thrives when you deny it. But the moment you decide to confront it, not escape it, not numb it, not negotiate with it, but confront it, fear loses its power. Fear cannot survive exposure. It can only survive your silence. Every person alive battles fear, but most never admit it. They mask it with business, distractions, fake confidence, or a constant chase for external validation. They perform strength instead of building it. They talk about change instead of creating it. They prefer the comfort of familiar misery over the discomfort of uncertain growth. But not you, but not today. Day 2 is your decision to break the loop. Fear has one job: to keep you exactly where you are. It tells you the world is dangerous, that you might fail, that you're not enough, that you're not ready. It magnifies your weaknesses and minimizes your strengths. It convinces you that change is risk, but staying the same is safety. But listen carefully. Fear doesn't protect your potential, it suffocates it. Fear doesn't keep you safe, it keeps you small. And yet, here's the truth most people never realize: that fear is not your enemy. Fear is a signal. Fear highlights where your growth lives. Fear points to the exact door you need to walk through. The life you want most is hiding right behind the fear you refuse to face. You're not stuck because you're incapable. You're stuck because fear has been running the script while you've been living on autopilot. Every time you hesitated, fear wrote a line. Every time you backed down, fear tightened the narrative. Every time you doubted yourself, fear deepened the plot. But day 2 is a rewrite. Day 2 is where you take the pen back. Today, you are not here to destroy fear. You're here to dominate it. You're here to interrupt its patterns. You're here to break the cycle where fear speaks first and you obey. You're here to dismantle the lie that fear is a warning, when in reality, fear is a boundary you were meant to cross. Think about the moments in your life you regret the most. They rarely come from things you tried and failed. They come from the moments when fear convinced you not to try at all, the opportunities you didn't take, the words you never spoke, the dreams you set aside because you were afraid of the mirror staring back at you. Fear did that. But fear doesn't get to finish the story. The version of you that is speaking today, the version that showed up, that wants more, that knows there is something inside you waiting to be unleashed, the version of you is stronger than every fear combined. Not because fear is weak, but because you are finally choosing awareness over avoidance, power over paralysis, growth over stagnation. Day 2 is your declaration, not to the world, but to yourself. A declaration that you will no longer be controlled by invisible chains, that you will no longer live inside the limits that fear drew for you, that you will no longer shrink to fit a life that was too small for your spirit. Fear controls you only when you hide from it. But today, you walk toward it. You walk into the room fear told you to avoid. You take the action fear swore you couldn't handle. You speak the truth fear tried to silence. And each time you take one step forward, fear takes 10 steps back. This is where transformation begins. Not in perfection, not in confidence, not in certainty, but in courage. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision that something matters more than fear. And today, your life matters more. Your future matters more. Your purpose matters more. Today, you begin to feel what freedom tastes like, not because fear disappears, but because fear no longer decides for you. You decide, you choose, you step forward even with shaking hands and racing heartbeat, because you know this fear is latticed right before your breakthrough. The fear controlling your life is nothing compared to the strength awakening inside you. Fear rarely arrives with a loud knock. It slips in quietly, disguising itself as caution, overthinking, hesitation, and maybe later. It becomes so familiar that you start calling it personality instead of realizing it's a prison. And the moment you wake up to this truth, everything changes, because you finally see that fear was never a wall blocking your life. It was a story you kept repeating until it became your reality. Most people do not fear failure itself. They fear what failure might say about them. They fear judgment, embarrassment, disappointment, and the sting of being seen trying. But the real tragedy is not in failing. The tragedy is in never allowing yourself to attempt the things your soul has been begging for. You can live an entire life under the shadow of imagined dangers, only to reach the end and realize the things that scared you were never as powerful as the version of you that never had the chance to exist. There is something you've been avoiding for far too long, a decision you want to make, a conversation that keeps haunting your mind, a dream sitting in the corner of your soul collecting dust because you're still waiting for permission to feel ready. Fear convinces you that readiness is a destination, but it's really a decision. You don't get ready and then act. You act and then readiness catches up. Every bold person you've admired was just as terrified as you are. They simply moved anyway. They learned that the longer you stand still, the more fear grows. Action shrinks fear. Movement exposes the lies it whispers. Fear loses its power when your steps get louder than its voice. Think about the times you've replayed a scary scenario in your mind, only to discover that none of it happened the way your imagination predicted. The mind is a brilliant storyteller, but under fear it becomes a master manipulator, trapping you in scenes that never existed, convincing you that this mental movie is a glimpse into your future. So you stay where you are, not because danger is real, but because your thoughts feel real. You imprison yourself without seeing the bars. You keep trying to negotiate with fear, hoping that if you wait long enough, it will give you approval to live. But fear will never approve your growth because fear thrives on your stagnation. The older it grows, the deeper it roots itself. And every day you delay, it gains more ground. There comes a moment, often triggered by exhaustion, frustration, or an unexpected wave of clarity where you realize that fear has taken too much. It has taken time, experiences, relationships, identity, peace, and everything you could have created if you weren't constantly holding back. This moment is not weakness. It is awakening. It is the first spark of rebellion against the life fear forced you to accept. And once that spark appears, you cannot unsee what fear has cost you. You cannot return to the person who believed fear was protection. From this moment, you start to feel something rising inside you, something that fear cannot survive. It is the beginning of your courage being louder than your survival instincts. Courage is not an effortless fire that burns in the brave. Courage is a choice, born in the middle of trembling hands and a racing heart. You don't build courage in the moments where everything feels stable. You build it in the moments you think you're not ready. The more you step into uncertainty, the more you teach your nervous system that you are not fragile. That fear is not a prophecy. That fear is simply emotion, and emotion is not obligation. You can feel afraid and still move forward. You can feel doubt and still take the next step. You can feel insecure and still transform your life. The truth is, most people are not lacking ability. They are lacking the belief that they are capable of surviving the uncomfortable. The moment you show yourself that you can survive discomfort, your life expands faster than your fear can shrink it. Fear has patterns. It pushes you to overthink, to delay, to question every strength you've ever had. It makes you rehearse disaster so many times that the idea of progress feels dangerous. But progress isn't dangerous. Fear simply convinces you that staying the same is safer. And that is the biggest lie fear tells. Your comfort zone isn't comfortable, it's familiar. Familiarity creates an illusion of safety, but nothing grows there. You grow when you step, even shakily, into the unknown. You grow when you attempt something that scares you. You grow when the fear is loud, but your determination becomes louder. There is a version of you waiting beyond the threshold of your biggest fear. That version is stronger, braver, clearer, and more grounded than you can imagine. You don't meet that version by thinking, you meet them by doing. You meet them the moment you challenge the voice in your head that keeps telling you to wait, to shrink, to settle. You meet them on the days you refuse to let fear make your decisions for you. And once you meet that version, fear loses its authority over your life forever. There comes a moment when you realize that the fear ruling your life was never truly about the external world. It was about the internal world you never learned to control. The fear didn't come from events, but from meanings you attached to those events, from old memories you never healed, from stories you repeated so often that they started to feel like truth. When you begin to understand this, something shifts inside you. Suddenly, fear is no longer an invisible monster. It becomes a pattern you can observe, question, and eventually break. The mind has a way of amplifying everything it doesn't fully understand, turning a challenge into a catastrophe, a setback into a disaster, possibility into a threat. But once you start learning how to regulate your emotions instead of reacting to them, fear begins to lose the grip it has held over your life for so long. Fear finds its strongest power not in loud moments, but in silent ones. The quiet nights when your thoughts spiral, the still moments when you feel exposed, the pauses in conversations where your insecurities echo louder than your voice. But emotional discipline teaches you how to catch those spirals before they pull you under. It teaches you that you don't have to believe every fearful thought your mind presents. Not every thought deserves your trust. Not every fear deserves your obedience. Emotional discipline allows you to step back, not to disconnect, but to observe yourself with a level of self-awareness you may have never experienced before. Instead of drowning in the moment, you learn to float above it, to see the fear as a signal rather than a sentence. You start asking better questions. Why does this trigger me? Where is this fear coming from? What old memory is attached to this emotion? What part of me feels threatened even when I'm safe? And as you ask these questions, clarity begins to rise to the surface. Clarity is the antidote fear cannot survive. Fear thrives in confusion, in uncertainty, in the foggy spaces where you feel overwhelmed and unsure. But when you start breaking down your reactions, when you begin to recognize patterns, you realize that most fear comes from your body trying to protect you from past pain, not present danger. Your nervous system remembers things your mind has forgotten. It stores old wounds like they happened yesterday. And when something triggers a similar emotion, your body reacts as if the old pain is happening again. Emotional discipline reaches your nervous system. It teaches your body that you are no longer living in the moment that hurt you. You are no longer trapped in that memory. You have grown. You have changed. You have survived. And all the reactions that once controlled you begin to soften, slow down, and eventually dissolve. As you build emotional strength, your internal voice starts to transform as well. The voice that used to whisper worst case scenarios now it's asking for possibilities. The voice that once told you to run now encourages you to try. The same mind that used fear to protect you now begins using courage to guide you. But courage isn't something you wait for. It's something you practice. Every time you respond with awareness instead of panic, every time you breathe through the fear instead of collapsing under it, every time you take a step forward despite the shaking in your chest, courage grows. It grows quietly but powerfully. It grows in the spaces where you think nothing is changing. It grows in the small decisions you don't give yourself enough credit for. And eventually, fear becomes something you recognize but no longer surrender to. There is a difference between a life ruled by fear and a life guided by wisdom. Fear reacts, wisdom responds. Fear freezes, wisdom evaluates. Fear assumes the worst, wisdom prepares for the best. When you learn emotional discipline, you stop living emotionally homeless, bouncing from reaction to reaction, memory to memory, fear to fear. You begin to build internal stability, a groundedness that gives you control over the storm instead of letting the storm control you. And this groundedness creates an inner environment where fear cannot thrive. You start noticing the moment fear tries to rise. You feel the tightening in your chest, the racing in your mind, the tension in your body. But now, instead of collapsing into, you pause. You breathe. You separate your feelings from your identity. You remind yourself that feeling fear doesn't mean you are in danger. It means your body is alert. It means your mind is trying to protect you. And you thank it, but you do not obey it. As this new version of you becomes stronger, fear shifts from being a controlling force to being a mere sensation. It becomes feedback, not fact. It becomes information, not instruction. You start to see fear as a compass, pointing you toward the areas of your life that need growth, healing, or courage. Instead of running from these areas, you begin approaching them with curiosity. What is this fear trying to teach me? What part of my life is asking for strength? What lie have I been believing that this fear is exposing? And through this process, fear slowly becomes something useful. It becomes a sign of expansion, a mark of progress. It becomes proof that you are stepping into new territory, and where the old version of you was never meant to stay forever. And without even noticing it happen, you begin to step in a life fear no longer controls. Fear may still appear, but you are no longer its prisoner. You are its master. You've walked through your fears. You've exposed the lies they told you. You've seen the version of yourself that exists on the other side of hesitation, doubt, and emotional chaos. Now the question is simple. What will you do with this awakening? Because awareness without action is just another form of fear. Understanding without movement is just another delay. And you've delayed long enough. This is your moment to step forward, imperfectly, boldly, intentionally. Not when the fear disappears, not when you feel completely confident, not when life feels easy. Now, because courage is not the absence of fear, it's the refusal to let fear choose your future. So take the step you've been avoiding. Start the conversation you've been afraid to have. Make the decision you've been postponing. Walk into the next chapter without waiting for permission. Your life is not waiting on circumstances. It's waiting on you. Your healing is not waiting on time. It's waiting on you. Your transformation is not held back by fear itself, only by the power you've given it. Take it back. And as you move forward, remind yourself every single day, fear no longer writes my story. I do. If you're ready to reclaim your strength, if you're ready to live the next chapter with intention, if you're ready to step into the life fear once denied you, then your day 2 starts right now.